I want a special applause for Christophe, who is who came a lot to the Paris RB meetups, like 4 years ago, and he did a lot of talks. It was always a pleasure to welcome him. So please welcome Christophe Philemotte.
Hey. Bonjour. Oui, je parle français. I'm very grateful to be here today at Ruby Paris. As Thibaut just said, it's full of souvenirs, such as the first time I presented a talk at the meetup. It was in December 2013, so about 5 years ago, already a long time. So thank you very much for having me today. So let me introduce myself quickly. I'm Christophe from Belgium. I'm leading the engineering team at Euronova. It's a company helping clients doing data engineering and data science. And the last 10 months, I've started to work on our new product. It's a data platform helping you to transport, transform, govern, and archive your data. So beyond work, I love other things, hopefully. You will see them there, baking bread, scuba diving, and so on. So there are a lot of possible topics we can discuss. And, I'm coming at conferences to meet old and new friends. So please come say hi and let's have a chat. And, the usual, you can find me on GitHub, Twitter, and on my website, ibigsoftware.com. So today, I would like to share something different from technology, but very linked to it. It's the onboarding of developers, especially the junior ones. And I would like to show you what we're doing now at Euronova, and it's the results of a few years of experiment. So I think the first question we should ask is, why should we care? Why should we do something about onboarding? Why cannot let that neglect it? So onboarding in a company, you can see that you have a first group and you work well together. You build, you sell, you run the company. Everything is fine. And eventually you need a new expertise. You need some people to help you, for instance, in security. And you will spend a lot of time to find that person. Eventually you will find him, and you will agree to work together, and he will join the company, which means he will join the group. And by joining the group, you are changing the group. You're creating a new version of that group. And the question is, how do you do that? How do you onboard a person in the group? Do you do anything? Or don't you, and hope he will be okay? Because what you would like is to create a new version of the group, a working group. And onboarding is all about that. It's how you will add the new person to the group and making him or her a full member of it, and actually reinventing the group. You want the person to be productive, confident, autonomous, and eventually you won't take any additional efforts to help her to work with you. To reach that point, it might require training, like acquiring new skills. For instance, you use a framework that the person doesn't know, to understand the culture, how the organization and the teamwork, especially communication, and define how the person wants to grow in that group and what is his place. And it comes to that concept of team depth. Kate Elderston was the person who talked about that, and in a very great way. So just Google Team Debt and Kate Edelstein on Google. The talk and the blog post are very great. And what she said is, without proper onboarding, you will accrue team debt, like you will accrue technical debt if you don't care about it. If you don't care about onboarding, you will create problems. And it means that the person will operate at less than optimal efficiency, and you might reach a point that the company won't be able to expand. And in the worst cases, people will start to leave. So without onboarding, you might break the group apart, and you don't want that. On the other hand, if you do onboarding, there are several studies showing the benefit of it. Like you can increase efficiency, but even you can increase the profit growth. So it's not only about the fact that it's a great place to work, but it will have also impact on your business. So if your manager don't believe you, you have some facts to convince them. So let me talk now how I see the onboarding. So about that, I don't think there's a true one way to do it. It depends on the job, the company, the people, the culture. And I think every environment, every company, every team needs to define its own. The way I see it is like a guided journey with different goals you want to reach until the person is independent enough to continue on his own. So I will focus in this talk on junior developers because they are the ones that need it the most usually. And for them, the onboarding is probably the richest one. For more experienced developers, usually you adapt that and you will cut some of the steps and focus on the things that is missing, like maybe he doesn't know the technology you use or is not used to written communication is something that you use a lot in your company. So let me go through the whole onboarding as it happens. So that's the journey. It lasts about 3 months. Depends how it goes, sometimes it's a little bit longer, but the end is not really an end. It's more the beginning of another journey because we do job shadowing. So if there are some topics we need to continue to work on, we can continue later. But basically, it's about 3 months. And it starts with the interview. So we think the interview is like the first time you will collaborate together. And you don't want that moment different from what it could be later. So for us, it's very important to have an interview that could look like how we work together. And by this way, we can illustrate our culture and, for instance, to show how, for us, it's very important to share knowledge between people. And for that, we have 3 parts. One is more an informal conversation, so we can share different point of views, opinions. Then we have a design session, and we take one of our problems we went through, and we do it together so we can plan the implementation. And it's not like at the university, it's not an interrogation, it's not an examination. It's actually a collaboration. We try to find a solution together. And same for the pair programming session. We'll give a problem and we'll program together and see how does it go. Then if we decide to work together, before the first day, we take care of several things, especially the paperwork, so they are not in the way when the person arrives. So it might be obvious, but it's easy to forget. Because do you really want the person wait for 2 weeks because you forgot to order the laptop? Or maybe spend the whole day to sign contracts? No, you don't. Then comes the first day, and it's a very important one. So we want to give the newcomer a taste of what it will be. We want the first day to be nice. We want to make the person feel welcome. So first of all, he's welcomed by an HR. He will show him the place, introduce him to a few persons, the team he will work on, and he will introduce him to the buddy. And the buddy is usually a member of the team he will join, and usually it's the last one that arrived in the team because he went through the onboarding. He knows quite well the kind of question you can go through. And the buddy will be like the contact point during the whole 3 months. Then he receives a welcome pack with some instructions, information, the laptop. Each project has some scripts so you can prepare your development environment and not spend the whole day to prepare your laptop. And finally, he will meet his mentor. And so the mentor is the person who will follow the newcomer during the whole onboarding. He will explain him the onboarding process, how does it work, and the first thing that is defined is what will be the first goal for the day and for the week. Usually what we do is, okay, just go through the documentation, find something that is not clear, and do a first commit with it. And then there's also a pair programming session with the mentor, and we try to implement something very small or to fix a small bug. During the first week, the newcomer will work closely with the mentor, a lot of pair programming sessions. We have a first goal is that there will be a major first contribution over the week, and it's a way to switch to a shipping mine. Then there's also the participation to the team life, like the retrospective, and we take care to give voice to the person so she feels like part of the team. And finally, we have a couple of events like code retreats on Friday, and it's a good way to meet other colleagues and share knowledge and learn new things. So the second week, we continue to do the same, and the idea is to build a habit, so contributing, pair programming, retrospective, code retreats, and so on. But also we start to focus on learning things that the person doesn't know, like the framework or the technologies. And we have a checklist for that. And we go through the checklist, we underline the things that are missing, and we try to find like what could be learned at the same time that you contribute to the project. So so we can do active learning. And at the end of the week, we have the checkpoint with the mentor, so we can compare what was expected, what was achieved, and so we can draw out lessons and improve. And then the newcomer has the goal to come with actually goals for the next week, so he start to be the leader of the onboarding. So to give you an idea of the checklist we have, it's mainly about tooling, the way we communicate, how you can collaborate and contribute to the project, some values like when you need to own, when you need to produce quality work, and how you decide that it's more important to ship a feature rather than spend more time on the quality, that kind of questions, and also to understand our methodologies. So we do kind of agile, but each team has its own version, and so it's important that you discover that by yourself. And then we repeat for a month. And by doing so, we illustrate 4 different principles of our culture: craft, own, share, and grow. During the second month, we do the same, but this time we we will let the person, the new employee, lead the onboarding. So he will define his own weekly goals. He will ask for help when he thinks he needs. He will be part of the team. He will decide when he wants to do pair programming, and so on. And the last month is exactly the same, but now the goal is to prepare for after. So to actually own your own, what you want to be in the company, what you want to be in the team, what you place there. And the mentor will support those questions and that process. And also there's an important part, which is the kind of assessment. Maybe it's too strong, but the idea that the mentor will be more active to see if everything is fine, if we, when go through the checklists, everything is acquired and understood. And if not, we can guide the person to fix some of the missing parts. So that's basically the process we follow. And it's as I said, it's the result of a few years of trials and errors. So I suggest you to inspire from there and make your own version. I would like now to talk a little bit about pitfalls that we were aware of or that we felt into, and I think it's important to take them in mind. One thing that is very important is to not wait to engage the person in the onboarding, which means to explain the person what it's about, why we're doing that, and make the person an active part of it. Because if you don't do that, it's, especially for junior developers, you will put them in the old habits of student habits. When you are at university, you are the teacher will tell you what to do and when you have to do it and how you need to do it. And that's not what it's not what a company is expecting from an employee. I mean, depending on your culture, but if you want something where everybody has a leadership, can own their work, you don't need that kind of mind. So it's important to engage the person as earlier as possible. Then to not forget to define the social contract, which is at the beginning of the onboarding, you need to be clear for what the person is responsible for, what are the expectations at the end of the onboarding, so they know quiproquos and she knows what's the goal. Then regularity, either in feedback or practice, because it's the way to learn efficiently. By giving a regular feedback, the person will know where is he and how she progresses. And also by doing regular pair programming sessions or contributions, you start to build habits and everything starts to be natural. Don't go too fast. You might want to rush because you need to push on. You need to ship something on production, you have a deadline, and usually it's a bad idea. Usually I consider that you need about 25% of the team time to onboard one person. So it's a lot, but it's needed, and then it's for the greater good. And finally, for the feedback, if you give feedback, be aware that negative feedback, critical feedback, is not a good way to give them. You need to explain what you want, why you want that, and how you maybe can do that. You need to show the way, and you need to show the goal. If you just say, that's bad, that's not constructive. So finally, let me conclude with some surprising consequences. So first of all, onboarding will benefit your projects. If you want to ease the onboarding on your project, you will put a lot of effort in your documentation. You will put efforts in your scripts, so you can prepare your environment. Then it's easy to run the project, to test it, and so on. Then it will benefit your team because you will strengthen the collaboration culture and also the sharing culture. That everybody is ready to help each other, and you really want that. You really want to make that works. And finally, your organization. As I said, it can hurt your organization, but usually when you do onboarding, you will discover some of the issue you have, like communication is not good enough in organization. You don't know who can help you. And just that simple question, if you can answer it, you will ease on onboarding, and it's good for your organization. And in a way, it goes back to the team depth concept, which is very, it's a parallel of the technical depth. You can see onboarding like a status of the health of your organization. If it's really easy to onboard someone in your organization, for me, it's like a good proxy of that your company is healthy and everything goes fine there. That's it. Thanks a lot. If you have any questions, maybe it's time or after, depending on how we are late. You can find me on GitHub, Twitter, and GitHub, and we are hiring, so you can send an email there, or we can talk after the talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christophe. We'll have a long break? I don't remember. So
I'm on time.
Yeah. But first, do we have any questions? Please stand up.
Do you have remote people in your company, and what do you do to onboard remote people? Because I feel like most of the process you've had here seems to be very on-site based.
So actually, I'm probably the most remote employee of the company. So I onboard remotely, partly. Depending on what's important for your company and the culture, but for remote, it's possible to do remote pair programming. It's possible to have video calls. So I don't see that as a blocker or an impediment to it. Probably if you want to build a remote culture, it's better to start as soon as possible than wait for it. But even though it's important also to welcome the person and meet in person, so you can create some, informal bond, which is also important. But I think it's not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello. So thank you very much for the talk. This is a topic that doesn't have the visibility it deserves. So thank you very much for talking about this. My question is, what would your advice be if a newcomer keeps consistently not meeting the expectations that you're set throughout the journey?
So first of all, during the feedback, you need to be clear why not meeting those expectations is a problem. And so, for instance, if you think that listening is a very important attitude to have in the company, because if you don't listen, you don't learn, and you cannot collaborate, and so on. And if the newcomer, doesn't listen to the feedback, you need to discuss. You need to ask why he doesn't listen, and then you need to tell the person why it's important to listen, why you think it's important to listen, and have a discussion about that. And also to be very clear that if it doesn't change, eventually it means there's no match between the person and the company, and it's fine. And eventually it means maybe to dismiss the person. So I think you don't need to hide the problems that are behind. You need to discuss them. And I find that if you discuss them as earlier as possible, it's easier to deal with them. Yeah, thank you. Very good question.
So please stand up before. I'm sorry, but like.
How did you, as a team, make the social contract and that all your yes? How did you, as a team, make the social contract and the
okay. So how do we define that? Actually, it's a big word for something very simple, which is, we have an onboarding. The goal is to make you part of the group, so be active to be part of the group, so play the game. So that's one of the point of the contract. Then for the team that will actually help to onboard a person it's quite natural because it's already something we do every day to help each other, to be ready, to be benevolent. It's like when you review a code, you want to help the person to make it better. You want to be sure that we don't miss something. It's not about pointing what is bad, what is wrong. It's more about how can we improve together the piece of code you've just written. So it's actually the same. The only thing I remind is when we welcome someone in the team is that, okay, we will welcome someone, please be attentive, try to look if there's something you can do to help the person, if it's just taking a lot of time to implement something, maybe just tap on the shoulder to ask if he needs help to do something, because sometimes people are shy or introvert and it's not easy for them to ask for help. So we try to be proactive, and that's it. Does it answer your question? Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you very much. Again, Christophe.
Thank you.